Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the analysis, or rather, just to talk about. This is not particularly, a arrow video, arrow map video, but we'll still be drawing arrows. Uh, so the because the Russians are on the offensive, so a lot of these videos are coming from a very Russian perspective, because we are talking about advances by the Russian forces, where they will attack, where they will go. But the thing is, how about the Ukrainians? What happens when we look from the Ukrainian perspective? So from the Ukrainian perspective, the Ukrainians did not attack. They did try to go on counteroffensive and try to push back the Russians, but the Russians seems to be outgunning them, and the Ukrainians probably don't really have enough of the tanks and armored vehicles to do a massive breakthrough against a extremely fortified position. And which is also why there's all this hype and interest about getting the Leopard tanks, the Abrams, and Challenger tanks and all this whatnot. And which is why it's important for the Ukrainians, because if not, the Ukrainians would not be able to do a counteroffensive, and then everything about reconquering all these pink area will be just dreaming. And of course, not to mention Crimea itself. So the situation over the Bakhmut Front is particularly difficult, because the Russian forces are now attacking from multiple directions. They in the latest report, they have already reached the outskirts of Bakivka, and they conquered Krasna Hora. They are going for Paraskovievka. They are attacking from the north of Bakhmut, from the east, from the south, southwest, south, attacking Ivanivsky. They are attacking towards Justifia, towards Suposhki. Situation is looking very bad, and most likely the Ukrainian forces is going to withdraw away from this region. So the big question now is, where is the next defense line? So I want to first highlight to you that this is not exactly the end of the Ukrainian forces. You are not going to see the Russians suddenly, no, just because they have captured Bakhmut, they're going to raw like that, giant arrows across Donbass and Donetsk. No, this is not going to happen. The reason why is, notice these blue icons here. This is actually all heavy entrenchments that has been built before the war even started. So let's go through a few of them. You can just take a look. Check this out. This is before the war. This is before the war. And I can show you more of them. You can see every one of them is a massive fortification. You can see this. There's one here. There's a smaller one here. There's another one just north of this village, or south of the airport, or at Kramatorsk. There's another one here on the ridge, on the hilltop. And then there's another one over here. You can see this massive entrenchment around here. And this goes on all the way to Kalinki. You can see another one here, and this is just south of Kryvyi, which is just south of Ozheny, which is around the Liman city region. This entire thing stretches on all the way from near the river, wrong color, all the way here through the south of Kramatorsk. And this means what? This means that despite it was a civil war and they outgunned the Donbass forces, they still built all these defenses. That means they are prepared for a major war. The Ukrainians are preparing for this exact war that we are looking at, which is why who would build an entrenchment in this way against an inferior enemy, like seriously inferior. The Donbass forces are just militias with some Russian donated Soviet era weapons and hijacked Ukrainian military armored stuff. So the fact that they have all these entrenchments firstly shows that the Ukrainians are prepared for this war, and secondly, the Ukrainians are not going to collapse in Donbass or in the Donetsk region just because the loss of Bakhmut. And on top of this, the Ukrainian forces are already heavily entrenching Justifia. They are heavily entrenching Justifia, and fighting is now at Stupovsky. And on just southwest of Justifia is the major city of Konstantinivka. This is as important as Bakhmut in a way. This actually holds the lifeline of the entire of the New York front. So this is definitely for sure extremely heavily defended as well. And you can see that there is already some kind of entrenchment in this region here, which is also pre-war. So and of course not ignoring whatever is just south of Konstantinivka, which the Russians are likely to just overrun it from the north. You can see the entrenchment south of Konstantinivka. So the next line of defense is likely, so after, let's say if Bakhmut fall, we're going to definitely have a line coming from Justifia as the center, and following this canal all the way up to Kryvyi Luka, and you link up to this entrenchment here, and this actually helps them to link another line south of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. And of course this comes to link up with the Donetsk, the one at north of New York. So north of New York. And oops, oh no, how do I, okay, I need to draw back. Okay, yeah. And then we have, of course, the Cvest line. The Cvest line is another line of defense, and this line along the road. And this area here is a bit more difficult. This area here, I don't think the Ukrainians will be able to hold it very well. There is some forest here, so they can hold up this forest region. Maybe this Justifia region here. Yeah, this probably it. It's only if the fall of Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, then we'll probably see some major problems for the Ukrainians. Of course, there's all this chain of towns south of Kramatorsk is likely to be able to form another line. There's another line here, so you can see all this defense line that is that can be formed for the Ukrainian side, and this line through the north of Konstantinivka. So for the Russians, even if they take Bakhmut, they will meet all these problems. They'll be stuck at Justifia. They'll have to go around Stupovsky to the rear of Justifia, and then that will also mean nothing much because the Ukrainians have another line here, and the forces here, taking the Bakhivka, maybe force the withdrawal. They can move up the road. Then they will get bombarded, and then they will meet the canal, and then they get stuck again. Similarly, they can actually penetrate through, and then they're stuck at this major entrenchment at right or Alexandrivka. And not to mention this line here is already a extremely heavily entrenched line, with the Russians still struggling to penetrate through. They are still trying so hard, and with very limited results. So let's say if they break through, they still have to take the Cvest line. Moving up north, they were stuck with the entrenchment south of Kryvyi Luka. And let's say they take out this line. Okay, let's say they break through. There is still another entrenchment around here. And then these are major cities, which you go head on, you'll be worse than Bakhmut, because Bakhmut is actually a smaller city than Sloviansk. Kramatorsk is even bigger than Sloviansk. So this means that the Russians going head on is actually rather dumb, and then they cannot really go through here because of the heavy entrenchment. So you can see that the strategic situation, if you look at this scale, you can see that it's actually extremely difficult for the Russians as well. So it's not all doom and gloom for the Ukrainians, but the important thing is for the Ukrainians not to waste so much soldiers at Bakhmut, because I mean the reason why I can understand the reason why the Ukrainians are trying so hard, consistently reinforcing Bakhmut, is because they need to build more entrenchment and prepare all the defenses in all these secondary and third lines in case the Russian breakthrough. So the longer Bakhmut hold, the more time the Ukrainians are able to reinforce all these new lines of defenses, and this is the reason why, you know, they are throwing forces into Bakhmut. Notwithstanding that the possibilities that that's conflict between the military and the civilian leadership, that is also possible. The civilian leadership might insist that the military hold Bakhmut for certain image issues, because they do want to, you know, encourage the Western powers to provide them with the, you know, equipment, and to show that they are losing is not a good sign, and not a good sight, and bad for branding. So until the tanks arrive, you know, Bakhmut, they will try their best not to let it fall. So, but otherwise, you know, the Ukrainians position, the situation in Donbass is not that bad, not yet. And as we can see, you know, as we can see, the situation, you know, in Izium, that when the Russians, you know, push through this major city of Izium, they're going south out from Kayamka to, and they just kind of stuck. No, they cannot even break through this line. So no, there is still a lot of grounds that the Russians have to go through before, you know, they can really so-called liberate the entire of Donetsk. And I think the Ukrainians have severe advantage being the defenders, but it will take a lot of life to defense, because holding a defense line means you are sitting duck for artillery and airstrikes. So, but, you know, the Ukrainians are, you know, are willing to throw the man to hold the lines until, you know, the reinforcement come. Anyway, this is just interesting, you know. I feel that it's an interesting video to talk about, you know, about the secondary and third defense line, or even fourth, fifth, sixth defense line the Ukrainians do have. And I can tell you, to reach Sloviansk, I'm not even sure the Russians can reach there in half a year's time. Like, to be honest, like this one arrow can take half a year. So yeah. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.